And ladies and gentlemen, we are connected by all three guests, Mr. Gurnani, Mr. Padmanabhan, and Mr. Natarajan. Thank you very much for joining us here on ET Now. Let me come to you first, Mr. Gurnani. You've seen very many tech cycles. You are an IT veteran yourself. In fact, if I were to go back to the data that my colleague Raminder was presenting, this data suggests that headcount, in fact, has increased. In case of TCS, it's increased by over 5,000, almost the same as what the company added in Q1 of FY25. How do you reconcile with what's happening now with the announcement that's been made by TCS?
I think, Sumita, if you go deep into the commentary, you would realize there are various factors. The factors are related to automation and AI. Factors relate to geopolitical decision-making. Factors also relate to, some of the productivity and efficiency that the industry has been able to bring in their operations. So as far as, I am concerned, when I look at this data, I look at it as clearly a signal that measuring a company's performance on the basis of headcount, those days are over. Number two is when you start talking about, what is the refresh or the relevance during the training, I think we have to start defining the roles and a human AI interaction a lot more clearly, because I think there's a huge opportunity for the Indian IT sector. And the moment we embrace human AI interaction, I think we will be in good shape.
As you point there out, that is truly looking like the need of the hour, Mr. Gurnani, embracing human AI. But Ganesh, let me come to you. In fact, you're seeing the shift firsthand in hiring. Is the demand for AI talent matching the pace of exits that we're looking at? Or are we seeing a widening gap that could keep thousands of mid-career professionals in limbo? And what scale of disruption should we be prepared for if this is the tip of the iceberg, in fact?
So, thanks for having me here. I think I agree with Mr. Gurnani. He's the veteran here. There has been a lot of disruption, which is AI-led, that is happening. Yep. So we see on one side, organizations really hungry for hiring more and more talent with the GenAI skills. Whereas at the same time, some of these mundane, repetitive tasks, people who are largely being people managers, paper pushers, have all been dropped. I look at it as a fact that we should be respecting the business cycles, the economic cycles. We have always learned about, a boom period followed by a downturn and followed by a recovery. Now, to add to that equation, there are two things which is happening. The periodicity or the erratic behavior of these business cycles is quite loud these days. Plus, to add to the trouble is this AI-led intervention, the shape of things which is coming up. So for us, I like the word, say, how can we interact between AI and humans? I call them augmented workforce, who are empowered by AI, is the need of the hour. So the ones who are getting dropped are probably redundant, is going out because of the role redundancies, whereas there is another set of people who are getting recruited who match the current set of demands that the organizations have, the customers have.
Essentially, what you're hinting at is the skill and demand gap that needs to be filled. But let me come to you, Mr. Natarajan. Let me refer to you this note by Jefferies. It warns that while in the near term, these ongoing layoffs will hurt employee morale, there will be execution slippages. In fact, in the longer run, it says that such policies could drive a sharp rise in attrition. So would you agree then that layoffs do not necessarily lead to growth for companies?
I agree with this, because in this context, I think TCS and any organization which does a future-focused restructuring is probably doing the right thing. Because if you look at the rapidity which AI is, when we started off with business intelligence, moved to generative AI and what all of us use, ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc. But today it's agentic AI, it's autonomous agentic AI. And in that context, the way work will be redistributed across technology and humans, as my friend CP rightly said, human intelligence and machine intelligence working together So that concept of dual intelligence means that you have to rethink every role, not just the tester and the coder and the documenter, but also middle management. How will they manage 70% of the work being done by technology and 30% by humans? Leadership, how will they cope with the new changes? So I think it's a wise move. And I wouldn't worry too much about attrition. If people, as somebody has said, it's a really a cliche, only person who should be worried about AI is somebody who doesn't understand AI. You understand AI, you're able to work with it, you're able to master it. I think you have a great role to play in the future because, as the World Economic Forum has said in the Global Future of Jobs report, I mean, we're talking about at least twice as many new jobs created by AI, whether it's prompt engineering or data architects, etc. And there will be enough jobs. It's just a question of adapting to it. Organizations must adapt, and people also should be able to adapt.
And as you pointed out, Dr. Natarajan, taking that back to Mr. Gurnani, given the fact that what you initially said about embracing human AI, Mr. Gurnani, are companies truly, in your opinion, embracing AI and automation as a leap towards unmatched efficiency, or is it an early sign of deeper economic turbulence, given what we've looked at in terms of these cuts as well?
So, so let's state a few facts. The first fact is that most of us use better IT, better tools, and better compute at home than what we use in our offices. And there is a reason for it, that today you do not have regulatory or legal constraints when you start using AI at home or AI for your personal applications or for writing replies to your LinkedIn notes. The second part is organizations have to reorient themselves. They have to demolish legacy structures to create a new AI human structure. And I think enterprises all over the world are still in the process of defining it. So that's why, to me, the whatever indication that you're seeing, they are just what I call a temporary blip right now. There is a lot more work to be done at the enterprise level to make sure data flow is correct, the data security is correct, the regulatory compliances are correct, and we need to also train people in ethical, in proper governance, because this is not an exercise where you switch on and off overnight. The good news is the technology is now around, human needs to be skilled, and the companies need to become a lot more compliant.
Absolutely, Mr. Gurnani. Skilling is something that companies need to look at, individuals also need to look at, and we'll see whether the role of government really comes into all of this and where do they come into the picture. But Mr. Natarajan, it's not just IT companies. It seems that global companies like Intel, Microsoft, Meta, and IBM, which have also announced job cuts, even as AI is still in its early stages of development. So could these companies not have anticipated the rapid moves that superintelligence is making and perhaps realigned their business models? So this perhaps could have been averted at least for a while.
You can't avert these things in the sense that you have to embrace these changes. And you are absolutely right. I mean, today we're talking about agentic AI. Tomorrow it'll be artificial general intelligence. It'll move towards some form of super intelligence. And if you take away the prophecies of doom, which says that, look, there'll be no jobs left, which is completely untrue in my opinion. But I think the opportunity is to reimagine, re-architect, rethink the roles of humans and machines and design organizations accordingly. Because you can't put your head in the sand and assume it won't happen. It's already happening, as CP rightly said. But beyond this, how do you design your organization? How do you make it happen? And as I mentioned earlier, it's not just true for IT, it's true for healthcare, it's true for financial services. Everybody has to reimagine their organization. And I think the re-engineering of processes, the rethinking of people's roles, all this will determine the future. So we are entering a very different paradigm. And in a paradigm shift, as somebody rightly said, everything is reset to zero. So you have to reimagine. I mean, no incrementalism will work here, but you couldn't have imagined it. In the sense you have to work with the tide as it changes, preempt whatever you can, and be able to adapt very, very quickly. I think that is really how you prevent your organization from becoming a dinosaur.
Absolutely, Dr. Natarajan, given the fact that perhaps, like you said, restart, realign, restructure, and renew, perhaps that's the need of the hour. But taking that point to Ganesh Padmanabhan, given the fact that from your standpoint, given how we've also spoken about what's the need of the hour, how should companies now balance the integration of AI and automation with retaining and reskilling their existing workforce? We all know it's right there, but how are we addressing the elephant in the room clearly?
Session-wide reskilling will be the need of the hour. Looking at the shape of the things to come, the kind of skills that the clients are likely to demand, kind of work that they are going to outsource. On that basis, if there is serious efforts which is being put in place to utilize the resources properly, this leaking bucket can be resolved. Because the irony, like what I mentioned earlier, is that there is recruitment happening on one side while some of them are being let go. And these are probably loyal people, just that whose skills aren't matching the current demands. So when there is a contraction that's happening in the business cycles, when the quarterly results are getting low, then they are getting axed. So I think the need for skilling is extremely important, and matching it to the kind of demands that's likely to come from the customer, so that the acceptance rates of these people are increasing, the number of people in the bench is decreasing, is absolutely need of the hour. It's a difficult task, like what you had mentioned, but I think that's what is needed.
Right. So, in fact, let me come to you, Mr. Natarajan. Mr. Natarajan, you and Mr. Gurnani were talking about the fact that human intelligence needs to come with and work together in alignment with the artificial intelligence, and that is going to create newer roles. But let me ask you one very pertinent question about the business models of these companies, and I think you've spoken about it as well, that need to undergo a change and they need to be output and outcome based. But are companies ready for that kind of change? Are they already in working for that kind of change to come about?
No, I think so, because over the last decade and more, I mean, we moved from the classical time and materials kind of model to much price. The minute you say fixed price, you have to deliver outcomes. And I think that's happening. So, I mean, from a NASSCOM point of view, as well as an industry point of view, I could say that most of our leading companies, if we take the top 20, 30, are well prepared for this. It's just that AI is moving at a pace which we may not have anticipated. So, which is why I said you have to be nimble and flexible. But absolutely, I mean, in terms of the new business models, how to engage with customers, how to meet their needs. Remember, customers themselves are engaging with a lot of startups and a lot of AI. So we'll have to adapt to what the customer wants, adapt to what the geopolitical and economic situation is. So it is not easy to run a company today, but I think our companies and our CEOs are very, very mature, and they'll happily make it happen.
All right, so there are challenges, but you say that that can be navigated. But having said that, Mr. Gurnani, India's IT advantage has long been scaling, and at the cost also. But if AI reduces the need for massive teams, how does India protect its competitive edge in the global delivery market, according to you?
So I think again, when I look back so number one is the skilling. For me, the world around year 2000, when we had a wave called Y2K, I mean, there were no mainframes in India, there were no programmers in India. We all had to struggle to get a COBOL programmer to address that Y2K wave. You know what has changed in this 25 years is that an individual is a lot more empowered. That individual understands that job security is equal to skill security. And for that, that individual has to work to get a right level of training, and that online, offline training modules are available. At least I know of two or three of my junior staff which has gone and registered and done a course on prompt engineering, done a course on AI coding. So my point here is that India has that resilience. Indian programmers have a resilience, and more important is they are self-empowered. So that is number one. Number two is the government's AI innovation or AI policy is built around empowering the academics, empowering the innovation, and also bringing in the industry together. Ganesh talked about NASSCOM. NASSCOM has been working on this AI initiative and skilling for the last 4 years now. The last point I would say is that if you see the AI funded organization or AI led organizations or where AI is the core, the number of organizations that are getting funded now is average about 100 a month. To me, that itself shows a healthy sign that not only India will remain relevant, but India will remain a leader in the domain stack or an application stack. So I am actually very optimistic about Indian skills being required, and obviously it will be in the redefined structures in the organization. It will mean a lot more entrepreneurs will come in, and more important is that you will also find that we are ready for the application layer.
Absolutely, sir. But let me respond to the point that you made about the fact that many companies and many startups are picking up funding. These AI companies. But how many of these AI companies are getting significant funding, and how much of that is being deployed towards human resources? That remains to be seen. But let me come to you, Mr. Padmanabhan, on the issue of wage gaps. In fact, this is an issue that we've raised here on ET now over and over again. Does that wage gap become even more pronounced? Because now the larger worry will be around ensuring job security. Do you feel that only the top rung will continue to get paid more and not really the middle and entry level talent more now going forward?
Whenever income comes into picture, it's the mid-management and lower levels that gets penalized, and the gap continue to widen all these years. And if I am understanding it right, even the global majors, IT majors, have not been giving going extremely conservative on the kind of bump pay that they've been giving every year. Now, with more insecurity in the picture, with people thinking about layoffs and all that, and some of that becoming a new norm in these conditions, I think the demand for more and more increments would also come down from the employee's perspective, which may result in some of this gap. But I guess as a whole, when the sentiments go up, there is always going to be a boom followed by the recession. So all of this, I look at it as a temporary blip, and the market will surge back. You have these multiple counter offers that we keep seeing with candidates, where even before 2 months, we saw candidates picking 40 to 60% kind of hikes when they jump from one role to another. It is just that, if the more skilled you are, then there is no limit for what you can demand from the market. But if you fall into the category of the people who are not getting skilled, then there is a risk that will continue to be there. But whatever is happening now, I think it is temporary. The long run, things will not be so.
All right. So in a nutshell, that people have to obviously also embrace that, and like everybody has echoed the same point of view, that you can't really disregard what AI is going to do, and you just have to go with that particular flow, so that we're not looking at a situation like this. But only time's going to tell how that's going to pan out. But having said that, I want to thank all three of you for joining us on the show tonight. But for